Dr. Mitchell, are you available?
We're ready to go.
Good evening. We have returned to open session at 6 p.m. Tonight is September 10th, and it's the eve of 9/11, and in honor of the 19th anniversary of 9/11, Ms. Ebenkamp will lead us in a brief remembrance. Ebenkamp?
Yes, today is the 10th of September 2020, and tomorrow is a day our country will never forget, September 11th, 2001. Yes, 9/11. One of the worst days in America's history, saw some of the bravest acts in American history. So tonight, let's honor the heroes of 9/11. Sometimes words are not enough, and as we remember that unforgettable day, please stand silently for a moment of reflection and respect. Let's stand. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Santana High School student Mark Cabley, who will lead us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, Mark, you are unmuted, so you can begin.
Put your right hand over your heart, please. Ready to begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mark, for that. There is no closed session report for tonight, so we'll start with reports. The first one is staff from Santa Ana High School will provide a brief report highlighting their school programs and students.
Tina, are we ready with Mr. Perez for Santana High School?
Yes, Mr. Perez, you can share your screen.
There he is.
Good evening and hello, Dr. Mitchell, Board of Education, cabinet members. Thank you for providing an opportunity for us to spotlight our school and brag a little bit about what we have going on at Santana High School. Number one, I want to brag about a student from Santana High School because that's really where all the focus should be. We just had Mark Cabley lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And I just want to share with you guys a little bit about Mark. Mark was with our district his freshman year, had something happen, left his sophomore year, and came back to us at Santana his junior year behind credits, and has really been working and putting forth a lot of effort so that he can return to Nogales. And now I'm a little sad to say we run the possibility of losing Mark to Nogales second semester, where he will graduate with his class. So Mark, great job. We really enjoyed having you here at Santana High School. We're sad that you're going to be leaving us, but we're happy to know that Nogales is getting another fine student. With that, I'm going to share my screen. Number one, I want to thank you all for having the faith in me to lead the school. I couldn't be more proud of a group of students or teachers and the work that they have done in changing the culture of Santana High School. While we were hoping to open back at our school, But we're going to make the best about it in any situation. My wife kind of laughs at that picture, says it looks nothing like me. So I had a choice to either make the Bitmoji a little older or to try to lose a little weight and look younger. So that's what I'm choosing. Okay, so number one, the first thing we want to brag about is that it's been a while since Santana has had the designation of water continuation school. And we're very proud to say that the California Department of Education and the California Continuation Education Association has recognized Santana High School as a model school. We're very proud of that work, but it doesn't stop there. Not only were we recognized as a model school, but several members of our staff have received accolades from the CCEA. Our teacher, Deborah Lynn, was awarded the CCEA Teacher of the Year. She is our art teacher, but she also does a lot of great work with our journalism class as well. In addition to that, a couple of years ago, the board and cabinet and Dr. Mitchell were kind enough to reward us with a second counselor, and we were going to put that counselor to great use. That they also recognize our counselor as Counselor of the Year, Candace Orozco. And with her, we were able to meet with our students. Our counselors meet with every single student at least once every 2 weeks, and they do a lot of great work with them. Not only that, but our classified. If you're on our campus, you'll realize that our classified staff have a lot of great relationships with our students. It is not uncommon to find Erica Gonzalez working, receiving phone calls, noticing the students coming into campus late, and welcoming that student. She doesn't get mad at the student, but rather welcomes the student and tells her that she appreciates her coming to school and looks forward to the day that she comes to school on time. In addition to that, we also have the CCEA SRO/CPO of the Year, Cesar Rivas. Cesar does a fantastic job keeping our site and the district safe, but more than that, he uses his experience as in law enforcement to serve as a mentor for our students who want to pursue a career in law enforcement, and we have many of those students. At Santana High School, one of the things that we talked about when I first started, teachers wanted to be treated as equals with their peers. But in order to do that, they had to go through the same work as their peers as well, participate in the same professional development, have the same expectations as learners. So we've now developed a mindset of teachers as learners. The last few years, a lot of our PD was centered around the Rowland framework for teaching and learning. We've covered 2 clusters, the clarity of instruction and successful learning for all students. And we are going to be working on our 3rd focus area this year. We'll be choosing it late September and working on that during our PD for the rest of the year. What makes Santana special? Why should a student come to Santana High School? Number one, we have small class size, where students receive individual attention from the teachers. As the students say, everyone knows each other at Santana, and there's no drama. There are opportunities for students at our school that they might not have participated in at their home schools. We have ASB. We have a guitar class that is sponsored by Max Sorum, who is the lead drummer for Guns N' Roses. We have a coffee house about once every month and a half, 2 months, where that guitar class performs for their peers. We also have a journalism class on campus, a yearbook class, and we also have field trips to both 4-year universities and community colleges. We are proud to say that we have a former student who is about to graduate from UCLA. His hope is to one day become a teacher at Santana High School. In addition to that, we have worked very hard to build our relationships with our adult school program so that students can make up their credits during the 7th period. And if for some reason they don't graduate from Santana High School, they roll into our adult school program within the district. We've also been working really well with Mount Snap. We're very excited to say that we are one of the few continuation schools to have a concurrent program with the community college. We currently have 17 students who are enrolled in a counseling class with Mount Snap. And our students are very excited about that teacher and the work that's being done in that class. When you ask students, what do they enjoy about Santana? What makes us different? They'll say it's the relationships that are developed between counselors, teachers, classified, and students. They find our counselors to be easily accessible. Our counselors, again, are supposed to meet with our students once every 2 weeks. When we are on campus, they're out and about during nutrition, during lunch, after school, before school, meeting with our kids. Our students know that their teachers care for them. They know that they scaffold their instruction for their individuality. Our teachers know each student. And with small classes comes support. Our teachers are role models for our students who don't have role models in their lives. Also, classified or campus aides. They find them to be welcoming, non-aggressive, and come from an area of love. Our culture at Santana High School has changed 180 degrees from a few years ago. A lot of that has to do with the rollout of PBIS. Our certificated and classified are both trained in PBIS. It's not uncommon to see our custodian or an office staff member or teacher give a soar dollar to a student. We have monthly award ceremonies where we celebrate student achievement. We recognize improvements in student behavior and student grades with raffles. From all this, we've seen a decrease in suspensions at Santana High School. We're happy to say over the last 3 years, we've had no expulsions from our school site. We believe in educating our students, having high expectations. And these expulsions, we're happy to say that this is not as a result of lowering expectations, but as a result of lifting our expectations and teaching behavior. We've had no fights through this year, of course, and we're hoping to carry that into the rest of the year. More than anything else, we just have a supportive and nurturing environment. Student support. At times, especially now, we feel like we're underwater or just above water. Our students are able to receive different supports. There's group counseling available. We have 2 counselors. Again, they see their students often. There's check-ins that they have with their students. We were fortunate to have last year 2 impact teachers. We had 2 retired Rowland Unified teachers, one of them from Rowland, one from Giano, that specialized in English language development. And they worked with our EL students. They broke them off into small groups and worked with them individually or in small groups. We were just very happy with the support that the district has provided with us so that we could share that with our students. Now, I could go on and talk about our staff and our students, but I think you want to hear from our students. Those are the true stars of our school. With me today, I have Stephanie Rodriguez, Angel Mendoza, and Mark Cablay. And we're going to click and just see a small video and hear what they have to say about Santana High School.
Santana is a continuation high school that has put in effort to create a relationship with each of their students.
Usually when someone hears of Santana, they think of troubled kids and poor education, and honestly, I thought of that too. I wasn't sure what to expect, but when I arrived, I was shocked that it wasn't any of those.
I almost thought of it as a punishment school, but being there, I have found that it was just like any other school.
Once you spend a day on the campus, you'll realize it's the complete opposite of what everyone said. Before coming to Santana, I was super nervous the teachers would not be caring. But once I met all the teachers, they changed my perspective.
When I got to Santana, the staff seemed nice and the teachers knew what they were doing. Also, the students seemed like they were going to do their work and not mess around as much. Teachers take the time to understand their students and their differences. They work hard to build a bond that is beneficial for both teachers and students.
We're grateful for a school like Santana that helps students recover credits. It is a school that is there for students that need help and a place that cares about its students. The staff wants us to graduate and help us get to where we want to be in life.
We prefer smaller classes which help students so much more. I told my parents that it wasn't bad and they trusted it and were glad that I was satisfied with the school.
I'm grateful for this school giving me the opportunity to catch up with my credits and graduate back at my home school. Before knowing the teachers and students, you are told Santana has a bad name, but it's not what you think, which is unfortunate because once you go, you find out that you actually create relationships and learn more because of your experience.
I'm so glad that Santana became a model continuation high school because other schools need to come and see all the good that is going on at our school.
So what's coming up at Santana High School? We have our back to school night approaching October 22nd. We're going to make it very easy for our parents. What we'll have is a Google Classroom with a link to each teacher's classroom and a video where they can share their syllabus, expectations, and what's going on in the classroom. We'll also have teachers available in the evening to answer and have conversations with parents. And then coming up October 26th through 28th, we have our WAS accreditation. That concludes our presentation, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. You and the students have really taken Santana in a very short period of time to new heights, and you are really soaring like eagles now. And, thank you again. Thank you for the students that presented on the film tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item. With Dr. Mitchell in there for our superintendent's report.
Thank you. So today marks the conclusion of the first month of our school year, and Rowland Unified has finished that first month of opening our school year in a virtual classroom format. We are very proud of our staff, our students, and our families for working together during this difficult and often challenging time. Our students, staff, and families are doing an outstanding job with the continuity of learning while never losing sight of providing care, compassion, and connection. I greatly appreciate the conversation and feedback received from parents this week during our Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council, as well as feedback through conversations with our employees and our students. It was a pleasure to participate in virtual back-to-school nights at our elementary, middle, and high schools. As Santana just shared, theirs is coming up a little bit later. So I would encourage folks to participate. It really was great to see the wonderful job that our staff did welcoming our parents and sharing about the programs that we offer for students. We are also planning for the first ever virtual college fair. The National Association for College Admissions Counseling virtual college fair will span a total of 4 days in September, October, and November, giving our students and parents access.
This would be our third bond refund that would provide a potential cumulative savings of approximately $24 million. Mark?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Flores. Good evening, trustees and Dr. Mitchell. I will try to share my screen and go over a short presentation with you about the refinancing. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, great. So First wanted to talk about when we're looking at refinancing old bonds, one of obviously the things we look at are what's happening in the interest rate market. And this chart is an index of municipal bond rates, and we're just looking at the 10-year interest rate just to give you all an understanding or perspective of what's happening with interest rates. And kind of over this last 10-year period, the general trend has been down, kind of towards lower interest rates. Kind of see, really all of 2019, interest rates trending down. At the start of the COVID pandemic in March, kind of markets got very disrupted. Interest rates increased significantly, up about 2% over a very short period of time. But then kind of in April, May, those rates started trending down and have really fallen a lot this summer. We're not quite at the all-time lows. We hit that in about August. That 10-year interest rate at that time was 0.58%. We put the presentation together a week ago. That rate was 0.82. So overall, very, very low interest rate environment. So kind of a good time to be taking a look at, can we refinance bonds and save the taxpayers some money? And so here we have a list of all of the district's outstanding general obligation bonds, and we've kind of highlighted right there in the middle the 2012 Series A bonds. Those were issued in 2013. About 40.3 million of those bonds still outstanding. The payments go all the way out to 2043. And the next, what we call date, which is, sorry, a bit of bond jargon, but that's the next date by which the investors would get repaid or would be forced to turn in their bonds if we refinance the bonds. And what happens between now and 2023 is we actually, if we do the refinancing, we set up an escrow account that has U.S. Treasury bonds in that escrow, and it makes the payments until 2023, and then in 2023, with the balance of the funds in the escrow go to pay off the old investors in that 2012 Series A bond. But as soon as we do the refinancing, basically that 2012 Series A bond disappears and gets taken off of the district's books. And so looking at the potential refinancing, maybe start on the left and some of kind of the big picture concepts. Refinancing the bonds is not going to extend the term of the bonds. It doesn't change the length of the payments. There's no impact to the general fund. There's no cost to the general fund. And then all of the costs are paid out of the proceeds from the refunding. All of the costs are contingent upon the refunding being completed. So if we were to start the process and for some reason stop, if interest rates really increased and it didn't make sense to do the refunding, there wouldn't be any cost to the district or to taxpayers. And then all of the savings to taxpayers, kind of those net savings to taxpayers, are passed on in the form of lower annual property tax assessments. And so on the right is a little bit of a summary of the refinancing. Of that 40.3 million in bonds that's outstanding, about 39.9 million would actually be refinanced. The average rate on those bonds right now is 5.14%. The new average rate will be about 2.73%. So almost half the amount in terms of the interest rate. And then I kind of broke out the savings so you could see a little bit how this savings work, kind of bottom line to taxpayers. So we dropped to the bottom, that highlighted yellow, about $10.9 million in savings would actually go to taxpayers. And there are financing costs, about $370,000 in financing costs is the estimate. So, theoretically, if there was zero cost, that would get added onto the savings. And then that $2.8 million figure, that estimated escrow fund negative arbitrage, basically that's taking into account the inefficiency of having the refunding bonds outstanding and the old bonds outstanding for that period of time to August 1, 2023. So we kind of take that into account. And so there's about 2.8 million of say, lost savings in that. So theoretically, if there were no costs, we could potentially be getting the savings up to 14.2 million. But bottom line, what's available to taxpayers is that $10.9 million figure. And those savings, as I mentioned, will be kind of given to taxpayers over the life of the bonds. And so on the left side, we have the annual debt service savings. So this is kind of the reduction in payments every year. And that ranges from about $300,000 to about $900,000 per year. And you kind of see how that increases over time. And then what the taxpayers will see will actually be a reduction in the tax rate they pay every year. And that ranges from about $2 or so in the earlier years, and then those last couple of years where the old bond payments spike up, the savings go up to about $3 per year per $100,000. And since we're going to be talking about the bond program, just wanted to take a quick look at kind of where things stand overall with Measure R. So Measure R has assumed or has been planned assuming a 3% annual assessed value growth rate, and the district's assessed value since 2013, 2014 has exceeded that assumption. Over the last 5 years, it's grown at 4.6%, through another 4.1% last year. So that's all very positive and beneficial for the district for the Measure R program. There's about $40.8 million, or exactly a little over $40.8 million of Measure R bonds that can still be issued. And because assessed value has been growing nicely, there's plenty of capacity to issue those bonds when the district needs those for projects. I know the district still has some cash on hand from the prior bond sales, so don't need to access that $40.8 million now. But I wanted the board to know that once kind of the projects progress and you need those dollars, you'll be able to access those dollars. And that is the end of the presentation. Happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Mr. Chen?
Yeah, I have a question. The on page 4, the total savings of 10,962,000 is that the total net savings of the to taxpayers? How do you get the number? Is that a number between the total life of the loan, the new one and the refinanced one, the differences, the total amount of the payment?
Correct. That's the difference between the total payment on the old bonds had we not refinanced them or compared to the new payments on the new bonds. It's that difference spread out over the entire life.
Yeah. What would be the new loan, the refinanced one? What is the terms?
It'll have the same financing terms. So the 2012 Series A bonds go out until 2043. The refunding bonds would also go out until 2043. That would stay the same.
Thank you.
Well,
Anybody else? Any questions? I just have one question on this page that you're on right now, page 3. You don't have the interest rate that we're paying on these bonds. Are there any other bonds that are eligible for refinancing or refunding?
We did look at the 2013 refunding bonds. Those also have that same August 1, 2023 prepayment date. And just the difference there between kind of the interest rate that those bonds have, those are refunding bonds that have already been refinanced once, so they have a little bit lower interest rates. The savings level at this point, it doesn't make sense to go ahead and kind of use that option to refinance the bonds now. Probably as you get closer to that 2023 date, if interest rates stay reasonably low, you should have the ability to refinance those bonds closer to that 2023 date. And then the next eligible bonds, the 2012 Series B and the 2015 refunding bonds that have the 2025 date. That's just a little bit too far out into the future. That inefficiency that you have having those two series outstanding at the same time, just eats up too much of those savings. So you have to wait a few more years for those two bonds.
Any other questions? Mr. Chen?
Yeah, since the interest rate is historically low at this time. So I believe there's a lot of institutes or a lot of refinance or refunding applications to the lenders, whatever they are, the lenders. And is any possibility our application be rejected? And how does it look, the possibility will get successfully refund? And what is our district, the credit rating? Are we good?
The district has an excellent credit rating. The rating is from Moody's Investor Service, it's a AA2. So if you start AAA, AA1, you're AA2. So just 2 notches below the highest credit rating that you can get. So it's an excellent credit rating. And because of that strong credit rating, and the fact that these are general obligation bonds backed by property taxes, they're very secure, so investors, there's really strong demand for these types of bonds. So I wouldn't expect any problem with Rowland Unified being able to move forward with this refunding and finding investors that are interested in buying the bonds. If something were to happen, more macro level, to the economy over the next, not really the economy, but more the financial markets over the next 30 to 60 days, then that might be something that would be a problem. But then again, that would not be specific to Rowland Unified. That would be something that would be much broader and have an impact to really all municipal districts.
So you anticipate that we might have this done before November?
Our goal would be to have the refunding bonds sold before November, so we can bring this back to your next board meeting and lock in the interest rates before November. And then it might take a few weeks into November to finalize all the paperwork and have everything be closed. But all the savings would be locked in place before November.
So what will be the interest rate? Not on the November is a critical month because after November the interest rate will go up.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things we're looking at, just with potential uncertainty, what could happen after the election in November. And our goal is to try to lock in rates before the election date. Just rates could go up, rates could go down, but there's just that potential level of uncertainty. So the schedule we've put together would allow us to go ahead and lock those rates at the end of October.
Any other questions? I want to thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to Dr. Mitchell again.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Farrell. The second staff report that we have this evening for the board is on the learning continuity and attendance plan. So new words to the acronym of LCAP for 2021. And Dr. Brian Huff will be making that presentation. Dr. Zamora, did you have anything you'd like to say before Mr. Huff takes over?
No, that's definitely new words to the LCAP acronym, but not much of a difference with regards to what we do for our students in providing a strong learning program. So with that, I will turn it to Dr. Huff.
Hey, good evening, board and Superintendent Dr. Mitchell, community. I wanted to go through the learning continuity and attendance plan for this evening. Let's see. So, as we're all very familiar with, the impact of COVID-19 has had a very deep impact on all aspects of our and especially on instruction. And So most evident is our complete shift to distance learning and how we went to 100% virtual learning in the spring, and then also in the fall. During that time, there have been many areas that have been surfaced, and we've realized the need for technology and for internet access, the continued need for access to meals. We also recognize the impact on families and in terms of the economic impact, their loss of ability to provide childcare. And we also understand that the distance learning situation has highlighted the need for social emotional support and connection, and also the need for academic intervention. And so in the context of all this, as Dr. Mitchell mentioned, the state has asked each district to write a plan in place of the plan for continuity of learning and also for attendance. Go to the next slide, please. So in the context of this, the California Department of Education is implementing Senate Bill 98, which will still preserve the requirement to present a budget overview for parents in December. But what we're going to be looking at tonight is the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, which is the new requirement. And tonight is the public hearing for that continuity attendance plan. We're going to go over how it was formed and the different components of it. And then on September 23rd, we will request board approval for this learning continuity and attendance plan. So again, just to walk through the timeline, we have been gathering feedback, stakeholder feedback, since March through this month of September. We'll go over that feedback in a minute. Tonight is the public hearing on that continuity of learning and attendance plan, and then September 23rd, we'll ask the board to approve that. I'll go to the next slide. So beginning in March, when there was school dismissal, Dr. Mitchell gathered a task force to review the different components of distance learning and identify areas that we need to focus on. We also surveyed teachers, students, and parents, and conducted a variety of focus groups and worked with both labor unions to get feedback on the plans around how to provide instruction and continuity of learning, and then other areas that we'll go through in a minute. So on this slide are 9 areas that were especially impacted and guided by the input and feedback from the stakeholders that we just mentioned. And so number 1, the attendance plan that will describe, so how are we collecting attendance? What does attendance look like in the virtual classroom? What are the different ways that we can measure student engagement? That was all developed through a collaborative effort. The re-engagement plan, so Rowland has a very specific plan, 3-tiered plan for helping students to re-engage in online learning should we find that they're not engaging, and we'll go through that as well. The instructional schedules at the elementary and secondary levels were also developed through these different feedback groups. Number 4, the balance between synchronous and asynchronous learning. That decision was made in terms of the parameters of the virtual classroom through some survey feedback we got from teachers. We've added common online examples that were requested by teachers during the spring, and also some of the feedback from parents during the focus groups and the surveys, asking for one single communication tool. We have transitioned over to Parent Square so that parents can have one way to get information from their teachers if they were to have multiple children in the district, or if their child has multiple teachers at the same school. The parameters for the virtual classroom was also developed based on guidance and feedback from these groups. Also, the transition to one-to-one checkout for all students, K through 12, is new this year based on feedback, and also the increase of the availability of Wi-Fi hotspots for families that need it. So although we are in the midst of a virtual environment, 100% virtual classroom for all students by mandate from the county, as soon as it is available, the district has developed and fleshed out 3 different learning options: blended learning, virtual classroom, and independent study. And also in the midst of all of this, the district continues to provide a safe and clean learning environment by following state and federal safety guidelines, providing PPE, daily cleaning of the learning and working spaces, ensuring physical distancing at the sites and the work areas, and then also making sure to clearly communicate cases of COVID that arise in the district. So the heart of the plan really is around how do we ensure high quality distance learning program. We, all districts were kind of overnight were transitioned into an online program in the spring, and we really tried to take advantage of that time to learn from the teachers who were doing that, from the students that were experiencing it. And so key components of our plan for the distance learning program includes streamlining the tools, so having a common set of tools, having common instructional schedules, and so every student in the district now has a common schedule if they're at the elementary level, and a common schedule at the secondary level. We have much more systematic tracking of student engagement with live instruction and also with asynchronous learning, tracking their completion of assignments. This summer, we rolled out and worked with teachers to roll out professional development around the virtual classroom and 5 key strategies to build on the work that we did in the spring and give teachers very concrete strategies and how to continue to provide really high quality instruction in the virtual classroom. Over the summer, there were also a lot of parent training resources and a parent app now that provides videos, short videos in Spanish and Chinese and English. And there have been several sessions now, and there's Wellbeing Wednesdays that are going on through the FRC to support parents in this endeavor as well. Many of the staff roles and responsibilities have shifted to align with our current reality in distance learning. So, for example, our bus drivers are helping out with the cleaning of sites. They are helping out with the distribution of meals. And so there has been sort of a very strategic effort to reposition and realign staff roles to support district operations at this time. And then, of course, the students with unique needs, our English learners, students with disabilities, students experiencing homelessness, and students in foster care continue to receive ongoing support and in-depth support through Family Resource Center, and then our Student Services Department, our Special Education Department, Special Projects Department. One of the things that the state has asked us to do as well, and every district to do, is to come up with a systematic way to assess for any loss of learning from the spring. So as we all know, we sort of over the weekend transitioned to online learning of March 13th. And during that time, there quite possibly have been some loss of learning from the disruption that the students experienced in their own learning environments and the transition to distance learning. And so currently, at the beginning of the year, students in Rowland, we have a set of assessments, you can see them listed there, that teachers are using to assess any major gaps in learning from the prior year, which will give teachers some data and information on some key areas to possibly focus on at the beginning of the year before they launch into the grade level standards. We do have small group instruction built into the virtual classroom schedule, which is one strategy for providing that reteaching and addressing that loss of learning. And then the ELD designated integrated instruction continues as along with distance learning plans that are developed through the IEP teams. Next, please. We also recognize that distance learning has an impact on mental health and social emotional well-being. And so 3 of the strategies and resources in Rowland that are available are, one is the 6 best TOSAs that support both teachers and students, providing resources and training on social emotional well-being. We have school psychologists that provide trauma-informed training, suicide prevention, and parenting strategies. And then our Family Resource Center continues to have a team of liaisons that speak Spanish and Chinese and connect with families in their primary language. And also, as I mentioned before, the launch of the Wellbeing Wednesdays, which are new this year to provide parents an opportunity to connect and be trained and be up to date on what's going on in the district. So another part of the plan is to identify ways for students to be re-engaged should they stop showing up for class or not logging into their live Zoom session or they're not engaged in the learning in the virtual classroom. And so the 3-tiered system starts with tier 1, which starts with just a culture of positive attendance, and parents will receive a phone call home if their child is marked not engaged in distance learning. If they're not engaged for 2 days in 1 week, then the site team will call a family and have a Zoom call to try to uncover what's going on. Is there anything we can do to support you? Are there technical difficulties? Are there other issues that are going on that are preventing your child from being engaged in learning? And then if a child is not engaged in learning for 3 days out of the week, it goes into tier 2, into early intervention. And at that point, the site will have a school attendance review team, and you can go to the next slide. And they will get a letter home, and they will meet with the family again to try and come up with a plan for helping the student become re-engaged in the distance learning. So if a child then continues to be in tier 2 for 3 or more weeks, then they move into tier 3 in the personal level of tier 3 re-engagement plan. And at that point, there will be a district level school attendance review board meeting. And so you can see a lot of these things are very similar to the way that attendance was handled before distance learning. There just have been some adjustments made to account for how do we track that and how do we determine when do they go into Tier 1 and Tier 2 and Tier 3. And then finally, the plan also outlines the supports that we continue to provide the increased and improved services for our English learners, foster youth, and low-income students. And so some of those strategies you can see listed there. The Family Resource Center, again, a key resource in the district, providing necessities and learning kits. A social worker to directly support foster youth. And again, the team of liaisons that reach out and support our families. Continue to provide tutoring and academic support, additional counseling services, targeted mental health support, referring students and families out to our partner organizations that will step in and support families and students in need. And then the ongoing parent training opportunities for these groups. Go to the next slide. So again, just to review, tonight is the public hearing on this plan, and then on September 23rd, we will bring a final version of the continuity learning and attendance plan based on any feedback from the board for approval, and then we will have 5 days after that to submit it to the county. At this point, I wanted to open it up for any questions.
Freedman? Freedman?
Oh, hi. Oh, Brian, I wanted to find out, when you say a student is not engaged, well, how is that going to happen? The teacher's going to realize that and keep track, or how is that going to, by the different levels, how are they going to do that? Are they going to tell their administrator, or does the teacher have to be in charge of that?
Yeah, good question, Donna. The way that teachers are keeping attendance or tracking engagement is through ARIES. And so we have a few new codes that teachers will use in ARIES to mark if a student is not engaged in distance learning. And so if a student does not log into a Zoom session for that day, then they are marked as code 3, that digital learning not engaged. And so that is then put in the system. The attendance clerk at the site will call home to find out what's going on, to get more information. And so, yes, Ms. Freedman, it does start at the teacher level, and they are the ones that make that determination, but then it becomes a team effort at the school level to find out what's going on and what support they might need.
And this is for when they're absent. What about if they aren't involved and they feel like they're not doing anything during the virtual lesson? Is that also a different code?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I think, so the code really, the digital learning code pertains to students that are not showing up to the learning session. So we're trying to think of it like the same way that we think about in the regular school when it's brick and mortar. A student may show up to a class, they may not be really, paying attention a lot or engaged, but they're still present, right? And so that's how they're marked in the system. Their level of engagement is also measured through their asynchronous work, or the work that they do outside of classroom, which they receive grades for. And so that's sort of the other part of engagement, is not only are they showing up for the live sessions, but are they completing the work, and are they receiving grades for that work?
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes, Brian, on slide 11 and 12, Can you explain to me what the percentages mean? You talk about 7 to 10% not engaged for the year. You're talking about how many times they miss, that being the percent, or?
So Ms. Ebenkamp, yeah, the percentage is the percentage of days that they were not engaged in.
Okay, I got it.
Mr. Chen?
Yeah, I have a question on page 3, the LCAP's implementation of Senate Bill 98. And Senate Bill 98, and there's one statement in the 98 says encourage the district to change or shift the fund from the school police or contract police service to supporting the students, such as special education or mental health or things. We don't have our own police department anymore, but we do contract the sheriff department. And are we doing anything different because of implementation of the Senate 98 on this area?
Brian, I can take that if you like.
Great.
Okay. So Senate Bill 98 does not talk about the refunding of the police department. It's talking about in the instructional practice. And so there is not specific action that we have taken as a school district. So being that our students are not in session at this point, we do have a relationship with our local sheriff's departments, but that our students have not been in person for instruction. We do not have sheriff's deputies on our campuses at this time.
Thank you.
Does the bill speak to shifting the funds that normally would be paid to the sheriffs or police to the students during the time that they're doing remote learning?
That is not anything that I am familiar with the Senate Bill. Okay.
Chen?
Yeah, the another question on page 11, and same question as Donald asked earlier. When the students not engaged, which is not online or not on the virtual classroom, and we see the absent, and we are making a phone call to the family, and how to do it when we're making a phone call right after the class, or someone called during the class to remind them come to the class, or how we will do it, how we will do it, and how much workload is that, and who made the phone call, the teacher or someone, the teacher gave them the list and they made the phone call.
So there's two things. One, the new Parent Square communication tool provides an automatic phone call to elementary students. I think it's around 10:30 or 10:30 in the morning. If they're marked absent or not engaged that day, they'll get a phone call, automatic phone call from Parent Square. And for secondary students, that phone call goes home around 6 o'clock at night. But then there's a follow-up phone call that the attendance clerk at the front office of every school will make to verify the reason for that absence or for not being engaged in learning.
So do we listen to the answer from the parents, or how we do the follow-up?
Yes, Mr. Chen, they do. So the parents have an opportunity to even electronically send an email and explain why the student was not engaged. And then also when they make the phone call, if they make a phone call home, then they can also take that information. But that information is then used to then possibly change the code if they had some problems logging in, or if there was technical difficulties, then the student will not be penalized for that, and they'll change the code. But yes, there is an opportunity in communication between the families and the sites on what the reasons were for that, for not being engaged.
What happened to the families after we have done tier 1, 2, 3, and then all of this, and the kids still not able to come to the virtual classroom? Then the family do have difficulties. What happened? What do we do? And do we have any case like that?
Well, I would defer to Dr. Zamora and maybe Dr. Despard as well, but I don't believe we have anyone that at this point has gone all the way through all three tiers. But I think it's a case by case basis, and every student's going to be in a different situation, and so every plan, as you go through the different tiers, the strategies that sites will use, that teachers use, that the district will use, will be possibly quite different from student to student based on what their needs are. But I don't believe we have anyone that's gone through all three tiers yet.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Freedman?
I think that's great, the automatic call, and then you also said that the attendance clerk will call the parents again after they give that automatic call. What happens at the elementary schools if you don't have an attendance clerk?
So the secondaries do have a designated attendance clerk, but there is site staff at every site at the elementary schools that will make that, whether or not they're called attendance clerk or not, they manage.
Thank you. Okay. It's just the teacher doesn't have to do it because they have a lot on their plate. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Huck, can you go to page 13? On that page, I notice you have on there English learners, foster youth, and low income. Do we have any focus on approaches for special ed?
Yes, so then again, I would defer to Dr. Zamora or Dr. Ebenkamp to add that each IEP team has reached out and developed, I believe, a distance learning plan and are developing that for each of their students that are on individual education plans. Dr. Zamora, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, we're also working on making sure that we are updating their individualized education plans. That is something that is taking priority right now because the students, at the end of the year, we might have not been able to finalize their plans. So moving forward, we're trying to make sure that we update them to fit the current reality. And that also includes, we're also working with our aides so that they can follow the instruction of the teachers and provide support during virtual learning for our students as well.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Huck or Dr. Zamora?
I'm looking for the page that has something to do with measurement of their learning loss on number 9. That's going to be a tough one to stay up with, it looks like. So on slide 9.
Yeah, so yes, you're right. I mean, this is a unique time, and hopefully this is the only year that we'll be talking about assessing loss of learning, because this is, a pandemic and it impacted those last 3 months of the school year. But the assessments that we have, many of them we've been giving for many years, so we will be able to compare prior year's data to the data that we get this year, and compare to see year over year what that loss might have been. But the assessments that they're giving provide very specific and targeted areas to shore up right at the beginning of the year.
It just sounds so negative. Why not just be assessing their learning? You're either going to find out they're losing or they're gaining. I know we expect that they're not going to gain that much, but it just sounds to me like we're setting it up for failure.
I hear what you're saying, Ms. Ebenkamp. The language is not. This is the language that the state chose for
Okay.
this category of the plan. It's not a Rowland specific phrase. So this is a category in the template that we're required to address, and they call it loss of learning. I think primarily because of the unique situation of the last 3 months of the school year. But you're right; it frames it in a negative view. But this is the language that we're using from the template.
You're stuck with it, huh? Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Dr. Huff, thank you very much for that presentation. We'll move on now. We'll move on to section 5, which is public comments. Dr. Mitchell, are there any comments this evening?
Yes, there are individuals wishing to address the board.
Okay, let me read this one little paragraph first. Please note that the public is welcome to provide comment to the board. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes unless extended or limited by vote of the board. A maximum of 20 minutes unless extended by the board is allocated for each subject discussed. The Brown Act, Open Act meeting regulations under which the board must operate do not allow board members to comment on non-agenda items or information you might bring up that are not on the agenda. Additionally, no action can be taken. However, the board may give direction to staff following a comment. Ms. Ward or Dr. Mitchell, first person, please.
Yes, hello. We have 6 speakers. Our first speaker, Mr. Roy Humphreys, if you could kindly raise your hand because there are 2 lines that are being shown that you're calling in from, and we don't know which one to unmute.
Do you see my hand?
You can go ahead and speak now.
Okay, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Please go ahead, Mr. Humphreys.
Okay, once again, thank you for all the good things you do. But on the dark side, we have the board and superintendent have failed their primary mission to educate. That is to educate the constituents about the trustee area voting, which is a continuing process. You further failed to educate the district that the constituents that the blue zone, area 4, home of Board President Malkin, is on the ballot with write-in candidates, for write-in candidates, and they can apply to be a write-in candidate for free. Yes, the board and the administration has earned an F. This also goes to the wanting content of character of the board members and administration. Next, we have a question to Ms. Pride regarding her incoherent rant about the Bond Oversight Committee in the last meeting, which caused the 3 monkeys syndrome to reemerge. Perhaps it means that Harry Peterson will finally get his well-deserved certificate of recognition for his many years of service on the Bond Oversight Committee and in a public forum, i.e. a board meeting. Maybe it means that Mr. Peterson's parting statement will be on the district website for reading and downloading. Because as Assistant Superintendent Flores notes, we have nothing to hide. In closing, I have a special note here that you can go to my YouTube channel and see the latest video on toilets. Yeah, everyone will find it well worth their time and energy. And I paid special tribute to the infamous Oswald's no toilet syndrome. And it's gotten rave reviews on the buzz. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Amy Urbien. And Amy, you can speak.
Hello. Good evening, President Malkin, School Board, Dr. Mitchell, and Cabinet. Tonight I come to you to support and endorse Parkland Communities First that is on the November ballot. Earlier this year, I gave a speech to the board and gave you a copy of a resolution asking you for your support for Prop 15. Well, here I am again, asking for that support. Reclaiming $12 billion in corporate property tax and taking the burden off of homeowners to fund our schools and communities is what this proposition is about. Of that money, $9.6 million would be additional ongoing funding to our RUSD. California is the 5th largest economy in the world, yet we rank 41st in student spending in the United States. COVID-19 has exposed the inequity in resources that our students have. Many of our students are traumatized by the extended time in the virtual environment. We are going to need more counselors, nurses, and resources to help our students' social and emotional needs. We also need to address in the near future the learning loss that our students will suffer because of virtual learning. We are going to need funding to get our students up to grade level on their reading, writing, and critical thinking skills. I taught 12th grade for most of my time in the classroom. For the past 7 years, the critical thinking and writing skills have improved where most students were at grade level by the time they graduated from our district. I give credit where credit is due, which is to all the educators before me. Our members work hard and have been doing a great job in the virtual environment. However, there's only so much you can do over a computer screen. There are so many factors our members can't control, and eventually the skills our students need to succeed will become evident and we'll need to close learning loss, which is a long-term process. Prop 15 will bring $9.6 million ongoing additional funding. There are so many issues we're going to have to face when the time comes to return to school. The safe reopening requires proper protection, equipment, and processes. We don't have a city council, and this community looks to our school board to provide some action on issues in this community. By supporting Prop 15, we know that our students and community are the priority. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Mr. Marco Maldonado. And you can go ahead and speak.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Mr. Maldonado.
Good evening, President Malkin, members of the board, and district management. It is with a heavy heart that I come before you tonight. CSCA mourns the loss of our sister, Lei Halaholo. Our thoughts and prayers go out to her husband and children. On behalf of CSCA Chapter 133, I would like to recognize and thank our sister Lei for the 12 years of dedicated service she gave to the students of Rowland Unified. You will be missed deeply by those you serve and those that serve alongside you. May you rest in peace, sister. I would like to yield the remainder of my time to silent reflection and recognition of the life we have lost. Thank you.
Hello, our next speaker is Miss Denise Garcia. Ms. Garcia, we've unmuted you. You're set to go.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Denise Garcia. I'm a classified employee, otherwise known as an essential worker. I would like to read the definition of essential. Essential, absolutely necessary, extremely important. So I ask, why are classified employees not given the respect we deserve? Why are we still having to demand fair pay? Why are you denying us, the essential workers, what we need to survive? You continue to give yourself raises, but we have to fight for a one-time off-schedule payment. We are on the front lines. We welcome parents who come onto campus to enroll their children. We are the first people to welcome individuals who come to the district. We are the ones who give students their food. We are the ones who make sure that students understand their assignments. We are the ones who call parents to see why their student didn't attend school. We are the ones making sure students receive their books and technology in order to succeed. We are the ones cleaning your buildings every day to ensure they are safe. We are the ones who run your reports. I have not seen any board members, Dr. Mitchell, Mr. Flores, or Mr. Bixler on the front lines, yet you are dictating our pay. The district needs us to function because we are essential. So again, I ask, why are we being refused fair compensation? I yield my time.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Patricia Cruz. Ms. Cruz, we've unmuted you. You're able to speak.
Ms. Cruz, you need to unmute yourself as well. We cannot hear you yet.
Okay, sorry. Hello, board members, Dr. Mitchell, and guests. My name is Patty Cruz. I am the textbook media assistant at Rowland High School. I want to say thank you to the board, Dennis Bixler, and staff for opening the child care for us employees. As a parent of 6 and having to work every day on site, this has helped tremendously and has helped my stress level go down during these difficult times. Lisa Hernandez from HR is amazing. She has answered questions and helped put my mind at ease during the first week of childcare. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time.
That is our last speaker.
Okay, we'll move on now to public hearings. Item number 6. Each year, the Rowland Unified School District Board of Education holds a public hearing within the first 8 weeks of school. At this public hearing, members of the community are welcome to provide comment to the Board of Education on the status of sufficiency of materials for students. It is the expectation that each student from each school has sufficient textbooks or instructional materials, or both, that are aligned to the content standards and are consistent with the content and cycles of the curriculum framework adopted by the State Board of Education in reading, language, arts, mathematics, science, and history, social science. The definition of sufficiency provides that each pupil, including English language learners, must have a standardized or standards aligned textbook or instructional material, or both, to use in a class and to take home. Any member of the public who would like to provide comment on sufficiency of instructional materials is invited to do so during this public hearing. Please raise your hand virtually on the virtual audience, and we will call upon you to give you comments. The public hearing will be open now at 7:21.
If you're interested in speaking on the public hearing topic of sufficiency of standards aligned textbooks or instructional materials, Those are the comments being taken at this time. Please raise your hand if you would like to speak on the topic for the public hearing.
Dr. Mitchell and board, we see that we have one raised hand by Mr. William Harrison.
Perfect, thank you. Mr. Harrison, this is for a topic of public hearing, sufficiency of standards aligned textbooks or instructional materials. Please go ahead with your comments. I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison, I believe you're still muted. You need to unmute yourself for this topic. Mr. Harrison, I'm sorry, we are unable to hear you. It's showing that your microphone is muted at this time on your device. Can you unmute yourself?
You might have to move your mouse down to the very bottom, if it's on the bottom or the top, for the microphone to appear.
Mr. Harrison, there's an icon. Usually it's at the bottom far left-hand side of your computer screen that will allow you to click to unmute your microphone.
And it's red.
Ms. Ward, would you like to proceed if there's another speaker and we can call Mr. Harrison back again?
All right, the next person that we see with a raised hand is Mr. Roy Humphreys.
Mr. Humphreys, would you like to share your comments
just
on
something.
standards aligned textbooks or instructional materials?
And this is pursuant to the last board meeting, if I'm correct on the time sequence, that you okayed some text acquisition, and it was simply amazing. I don't know if it was Miss Ebenkamp or whatever said that this replacing books that are really, really antiquated. If I'm wrong on the years, I believe it was like 8 to 10 years old, which to me is an abomination that anything could exist like that today in any school system. So yeah, get the books out there. I look at this as an almost impossible task for our ordinary people to get into, but we need to make the appropriate changes, and I know you will do that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Humphreys.
There are no more at this time.
I was wondering if somebody could maybe call Mr. Harrison and see if he wants to submit his comments in writing, or we can bring him back after.
We see that his hand is no longer up, but we can certainly reach out to him to see if he'd like to submit his comments in writing. No problem.
If he submits them in writing, just share them with the board members.
Absolutely.
No other speakers on this board?
No, there are no more at this time.
Okay, so the public hearing will be closed at 7:25. We'll go to the next public hearing that, which is the one that Dr. Huff alluded to in his presentation. Senate Bill 98 establishes California EC Section 43509 and the learning continuity and attendance plan requirements for the 2020-21 school year. RUSD plan outlines how the district is addressing gaps in learning, conducting meaningful stakeholder engagement, maintaining transparency, addressing the need of unduplicated pupils, students with unique needs, and students experiencing homelessness, providing access to necessary devices and connectivity for distance learning, providing resources and supports to address students and staff mental health and emotional well-being, and continuing to provide school meals for students. I'm out of breath now. Any members of the public who would like to provide comment on the draft of 2020-2021 Learning Continuity Plan is invited to do so during this public hearing. Please raise your virtual hand so that we may call upon you. The hearing will start at 7:26.
Currently, Mr. Malkin, we're seeing no hands raised.
Okay, with no hands raised, we'll close the hearing at 7:27. We now move into the discussion items on the agenda. The first one is Schedule 2019-2020 Unaudited Actuals. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the 2019-2020 Unaudited Actuals Financial Report as presented?
I'll move. Second.
Hey, let me first turn it over to Dr. Mitchell, and then we'll have discussion afterwards.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Flores. He's going to do a brief presentation on the 2019-2020 unaudited.
Good evening, Board President Malcolm, board members, Dr. Mitchell, cabinet, and audience. Thank you for allowing me this time to provide you a brief presentation on the unaudited actuals. In this presentation, I'll provide a background on the unaudited actuals, share the unaudited actuals ending balance, and next steps for closing the 2019-20 fiscal year, and close by sharing information on learning loss mitigation funds. The unaudited actual report is a year-end fiscal statement. We are not a for-profit institution, and we use these unaudited actuals to reflect upon our solvency and to provide guidance. We use this information from the unaudited actuals to refine our current budget if necessary. Since approving the budget in June, the financial books have now closed. Estimates or projections are now replaced with actual revenue and expenditures in the system. This is a large undertaking, and with all the state budget uncertainty, this year we also presented a 45-day budget revision. This is a large task, and I need to give credit where it's deserved. Everyone has faced challenges with the COVID pandemic. Although the tasks that need to be completed have not changed, how we do the work is new and challenging and frightening at times. The fiscal department moved forward and didn't look back and did a terrific job. But the fiscal department is just a reflection of the wonderful employees RUSD has, who always rise to the occasion and always place students first. This slide shows our unrestricted 1920 budget from adopted budget, second interim to unaudited actuals. Overall, if you look at the adopted budget, we predicted that our ending balance would increase by $3.3 million. When the budget was presented, we did not take into account any possible negotiated settlements. At the second interim, we presented that we would be deficit spending $377,000 because at this time we added a possible negotiated settlement for both associations. Overall, our unaudited actuals show that we deficit spend by $76,000. So our ending balance slightly was reduced. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and students being recessed to remote learning in March, several variances occurred in different areas. We had savings in substitute costs, utilities, conferences, and contracted services. Although we incurred costs and additional resources to teach remotely, also with students not on school campuses, and the cost to complete construction projects reduced during this time. We took advantage and completed many capital outlay projects that were planned for the future. Restricted funds are also accounted for in the Unaudited Actual report, and these are examples of the restricted programs in our district. This slide shows the unaudited actuals for the restricted funds. At the budget adoption, we predicted a deficit spend around $2 million. At the second interim, we projected deficit spending of 7.9. And with the unaudited actuals, it came closer to our projections at the budget adoption. Deficit spending close to $1.4 million. The large variances on the restricted general fund are related to two areas: material and supplies, and contracts and services. There were expenditures that did not materialize, and some orders were received after June 30th and will be charged to next fiscal year. Also, many contracts and services did not take place due to students and staff not being on campus. One large area of savings occurred in special ed non-public school contracts. Final steps to close the 1920 fiscal year are underway. Our auditors, Nigro & Nigro, began their comprehensive independent audit. A data file of the unaudited actuals will be reviewed, analyzed, and confirmed by the auditors and the county. The auditors will continue their comprehensive review in October. The audit will be completed by December 15th and presented to the board in January. I would like to take some time to discuss the federal relief funds that the district is entitled to due to COVID-19 pandemic. These funds are the following: coronavirus relief funds, state general funds, governor emergency relief funds, and elementary and secondary emergency relief funds. These funds are to support additional expenses that are related to the coronavirus and may have an impact on the final ending balances that I have just presented to you tonight. The majority of these funds must be spent by December 30th of this year. We are also able to credit expenditures going back to March 2020. Therefore, our ending balance is subject to change as we determine what expenditures occurred in 1920 that can be charged to these funds. We are currently working with two plans. One, reviewing all expenditures that we incurred since March that are related to COVID-19 that can be charged to these funds. And secondly, developing different opportunities to provide support to our students during this period of remote learning. In both plans, here are some expenses that have already occurred and some possible new expenses. Professional development, student Chromebooks and iPads, teacher devices like laptops and iPads, books and supplies, virtual learning platforms, and hotspots. I'm happy to share that these funds were just deposited into the district's account last week, as there was uncertainty if these funds were actually going to materialize. The expenditures and revenues will be reflected at the first interim as restricted revenue and expenditures. Thank you for allowing me to present this, and I can be available for any questions.
Any questions? I don't see any hands going up. Okay, no questions. Okay, so we already have a first and a second for the scheduled 2019-2020 unaudited actuals. We have a first and second already. We'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen? Aye. Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
It's aye for me, so it's unanimous and the motion carries. We now go to item number 7B, amend the 2020-2021 Board of Education meeting schedule. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the amended 2020-2021 Board of Education meeting schedule to add a regular board meeting on Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020?
I'll move.
I'll second.
The first and second?
Miss Ebenkamp.
What was that?
Let's say Miss Ebenkamp said it first.
Oh, okay. So we have a first and a second. Are there any questions or discussion regarding the modification or amended schedule? Okay, we'll take a roll call. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
And aye for me also, so the motion carries. So be sure to put that on your calendar. I believe that meeting's going to start at 6 o'clock, is that correct?
That's correct.
There'll be a 6 o'clock start time for that meeting on the 23rd. Authorization to prevent misassignments. Can I have a motion and a second to authorize teaching assignments for identified teachers outside of their credential areas when the appropriate number of units have been completed in the subject area pursuant to education code?
I so move. Mrs. Ebenkamp?
Second.
There's a second. Are there any questions or discussions? I believe, since I've been on the board, this has been a tremendous improvement in this area. I think we used to have a larger number of individuals that would be involved in this. There's very few now. We'll take roll call vote. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
Aye for me also, so the motion carries. New classified supervisory position and class and job description, nutrition services field supervisor. Have a motion and a second to approve the new classified supervisory position and job description of nutrition services field supervisor, placement in the nutrition services series job family, and the salary recommendation at the range 26 on the confidential supervisory salary schedule.
I'll move.
Second.
Any questions or discussions? I just want to clarify that this is a reclassification of a position that we have. It's not a new position or a new management position.
That's correct. It is a change in position. There was an individual who had resigned, and so we are not replacing that on that position title. We are going to be using the one, if approved, of Nutrition Services Field Supervisor.
One additional control. Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Okay, no more other questions? Okay, Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
Aye for me also, so the motion carries unanimously. Item 7E, Los Angeles County Street Lighting Assessment Ballot. And I have a motion and a second to approve the district casting a vote on the county street lighting assessment ballot in favor of the proposed new assessment of the amount of $15 per year for the operation and maintenance of street lighting facilities that benefit district property.
Mrs. Ebenkamp moves.
I'll second.
First and second, are there any questions or discussions?
Yes. I just want to say that if we didn't do this, they're going to take out the light, so it's a good idea to do this.
When you said if we didn't do this, I have a question on that. If we approve it, but the ones that are within the community by the homeowners, they don't approve it, do we keep the ones that's on our property?
David, I talked to the lighting, to Mr. Yang about this because I had questions too. What we're voting on involves the school and one other property, not all those homeowners. So there are really only two votes. And our vote weighs more just because we're a bigger property is what I understand. So as long as we vote and carry it, the lights will, and say that and the school gets the thing into the county, then the lights will pay for the lighting district.
Okay. Yeah, because I was concerned about how dark it would be in the safety.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or discussions?
Actually, was that correct, Dr. Mitchell? Did I say it right?
Yes.
Is that the way you understand it? Okay.
there are only 2 ballots that have gone out, one for us and another resident. And yes, our vote does carry more weight because of the large size of the parcel of our land.
And you have to get it in by the 27th? Is it?
It is, the date had changed, so on the original ballot, the public hearing was scheduled for September 22nd. They've moved that to the 29th. So depending on board action, I will be sending it in tomorrow.
Okay.
They had originally requested it be returned by September 7th, and I did notify them that we did not have a scheduled meeting until tonight.
Okay.
Okay, we have a first and a second. No more questions? Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
And it's aye for me, so motion carries. Item 7F, resolution number EDS 2021-01, sufficiency of standards aligned instructional materials for all students. This is what we had the hearing for earlier. And a motion and a second to adopt resolution EDS 1920-01, sufficiency of standard aligned instruction materials for all students.
I'll move.
Second.
First and second, are there any questions or discussions for this item? And we'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
Aye for me, so the motion carries unanimously. Item 7G, resolution number AS 2021-07, began limit. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution AS 2021-07, began limit?
I'll move.
Second.
The first and second, are there any questions or discussion? Seeing no hands, we're going to do roll call. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
Aye for me also, so motion carries unanimously. Resolution AS 2021-06, National School Lunch Week. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution AS 2021-06, proclaiming October 12th through the 16th, 2020 as National School Lunch Week?
I'll move.
Second.
Ms. Pride, second.
Mr. Chen.
Mr. Chen. Okay. Any questions or discussion on National School Lunch Week? Yes, we're not seeing any. Vote on the resolution. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
All for me, so it's unanimous. Resolution, item number 7I, resolution number SO 2021-02, Youth of the School Administrator. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution SO 2021-02, proclaiming October 11th through the 17th, 2020 as Week of the School Administrator?
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussions? Questions? I'll add one. I think that Rowland Unified has the best school administrators in the county, and I think that's why our school district is so well liked by everybody, and everybody wants to come to Rowland Unified. That's what our administrators and their staff that we supervise. We'll now take a roll call vote. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
Aye for me, so the motion carries unanimously for our school administrators. Resolution 7J, resolution SO 2021-03, Red Ribbon Week. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution SO 2021-03, proclaiming October 23 to 31st, 2020 as Red Ribbon Week?
I'll move.
Second.
First and second, any questions, discussion?
I'm interested to see how they're going to do this since we're doing remote teaching. The computers will be full of stuff. What's that?
I thought Mr. Chen had his hand up.
Oh, I thought he did too.
Same question. Yeah.
Yeah, the same question.
Red ribbon on the shirts or the blouses or whatever.
Yeah.
Freedman, you have something? Ms. Freedman?
Oh, sorry. Dr. Mitchell, is there a way to get a list about what schools are going to plan again for Red Ribbon Week and Bullying Week?
Yes, Dr. Despard is already working on that with our principals.
Terrific. Thank you.
Attach red ribbon on our website.
What was that?
We attach a red ribbon on the school RUSD so everybody can see it.
Oh,
That's a good idea.
on the page of our website, the district.
Mm-hmm.
Is that possible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can. I'll give you the list of the things that the schools are doing, and we can look to see if we want to update. We can put a banner or something on our website if that's an interest of the board. Absolutely. The principals are planning to give their plans to Dr. Despard on September 21st. So we'll get that to the board shortly thereafter and prior to the week.
Can I assume that for all these resolutions, we'll have something on the marquee at the district office for that week?
Yes.
Okay, we have a first and a second, so now we'll take a roll call vote. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Fry?
Aye.
And an aye for me, so resolution carried. Okay, now we have resolution SO 2021-04, Hispanic Heritage Month. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution SO 2021-04, proclaiming September 15th through October 15th, the whole month on this one, as Hispanic Heritage Month?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a first and second. Any questions or discussion? I'll take a roll call on this. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
And it's aye for me, so motion carries unanimously. The next resolution is SO 2021-05, Bullying Prevention Month, which Ms. Freedman mentioned earlier. Okay. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt resolution SO 2021-05, proclaiming October 2020 as Bullying Prevention Month?
I'll move.
Second.
We have the first and second. Any discussion?
I have a question. Does this include website bullying also, like with social media?
Yes, it does talk about cyberbullying as well.
Okay.
Any other questions? Discussion? Okay, we'll do roll call. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
So motion carries unanimously. We now go into the first reading and review of revised Rowland Unified School District Board Policy Manual, which has been posted on the internet, which we just had chance to review. There is no motion on this item. This item is to receive the first reading and review of the revised Rowland Unified School District Board Policy Manual. We're just taking discussion and questions.
A lot of work by a lot of people. Very well done.
I heard it. I heard it was.
I would second that.
Especially you two.
So no questions, no discussions, we'll move on to the next item. This is Board Appointed Personnel Commission position. There is no motion on this item. This is to discuss the Board Appointed Personnel Commission position in which 3-year term will be expiring on December 1st, 2020. Ms. Judy May currently holds the position and expressed interest in being reappointed for the position. If there are members of the community who wish to be considered for the position or board appointed personnel commissioner, please visit the district website for further information or call the district office at area code 626-854-2541. I'll repeat that, that's 626-854-2541. 2541. Are there any questions or discussions regarding this item? We go to the consent calendar. Next is the consent calendar. We'll approve all of the items in consent with the exception of any items that were pulled for separate discussion and action, and there are no items that were pulled. Can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar in a second?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay, well, I'll just take a roll call. There's no discussion of. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Okay, now we have a new section that we have to go to, which is the conference section. Next, we would receive comments from the board. We'll start with Angelina.
I'd like to thank Marco Maldonado for expressions of condolences offered for the loss of CSEA member, coworker, and friend to many in the district, and prayers go out to the family. Continued thanks to all of our staff at every level for all that you do to keep things going during these trying times. I recognize that things aren't easy for anyone at any level, and just know that all of your hard work and efforts are appreciated. Thank you to Mr. Perez and his staff for their presentation. I am so proud of the things going on at Santana. It's just amazing. Just really proud of them. Please keep up the good work. Thank you to Dr. Zamora and Dr. Huff for the learning continuity and attendance plan that was presented tonight. This info was very helpful in giving us a good overview and understanding of how these things will be handled during online learning. So I definitely appreciated that presentation. Thanks to Mr. Flores for always working hard to keep us fiscally stable, and also for working hard to make sure that we can keep saving our community money by refinancing bonds when appropriate. Finally, there was a comment that my words of appreciation last month to our CDLC committee weren't understood. I'm not sure how words of appreciation are hard to understand, but I do know that the lack of understanding doesn't hurt nearly as much as a lack of effort to understand. So thank you, and I hope all of you guys have a good one, and we'll see you on the 23rd.
Ms. Freedman?
Okay. Yay, thank you. All right. Thank you to Santana High School for a great presentation, and congratulations to all the awards that were received. The 2012 Series A refunding opportunity, the bond refinancing opportunity will save property tax owners money, which is outstanding. Thank you to all that were involved in possibly making this a reality. Lots of hard work by Alex and his team, and thank you for the great presentation, Mark. The learning continuity and attendance plan for 2020-21 covered so much information. Thank you to Maddie and her team for putting this all together and so much work. Very thorough. Great presentation, Brian. Another thank you to Alex and his team for the very informative presentation on 1920 Unaudited Actuals. Your hard work is very much appreciated. 1,475 hotspots have been deployed since March for our students to use. I received an email from Amy Urbien, ARE president, and I wanted to share some things she wrote about. She gave me permission to share what she wrote, which was, quoting, "Our members really appreciate the school supplies that were purchased for our students. We had a couple of our members who were able to give input, and Mr. Flores and Dr. Zamora really delivered on the supplies. The whiteboards, headphones, and notebooks have helped our members as they continue to create relationships with students and are able to get our students to learn. Students wanting to learn and participating in their Zoom sessions is a testament to our educators who are doing a great job by engaging with their students daily. It was so nice to read these positive statements. Thank you to all of our certificated, classified, and administrative employees for making the Zoom lessons beneficial for all of our students." Thank you, Amy. The public textbook review for CTE textbooks for 3 career technical education courses. I attended that, and I want to say thank you to Dan Luna and Carolyn Manukian from Rowland High School, as well as Alfonso Colmenares from Nogales High School for being on the selection committee. Lastly, of course, Rocky for making this possible. The teachers and Rocky took their precious time after school to explain all of these books. Thank you for your commitment to answer many questions about these books. I will look forward to having them on the agenda for our next board meeting. And the Family Resource Center started the well-being on Wednesdays, as someone mentioned. This is an interactive webinar. Over 100 families attended and participated. On back-to-school nights, I miss visiting the schools so much, but happy to know that there were virtual back-to-school nights at most of our campuses. That is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Freedman. Mr. Chen?
Yeah, the first off, I feel very sorry loss of our long-time employee, dedicate almost 20 years, more than 10 years to the district, and as well for the homework. And yeah, I will pray for the family. Okay. I want to say thank you to the principal of Santana High School, Greg Perez, and the students, and sharing us with the information of the school. I think during the pandemic, we don't get a chance to visit the school, and we don't get a chance to see the students and the administrators and the staff face by face. So that made me feel the updated and information through the this type of presentation is more meaningful and more important to us. So thank you for the presentation. I want to say thank you to Dr. Huff and Maddie for the presentation for the report of the LCAP, and Alex and Ms. Frost and your team for the unaudited actual report and for your hard work. And on behalf of the board, I attend the one city council meeting last night, virtually of course. I made a report for the virtual classrooms and college fairs and the Oswald campus project. The city council meeting passed several items, and one of them has related to our district is they are going to put a traffic signal light on the street of the corner of La Puente Road and there's another street. The name of the street is, let me see, the for Castle Avenue. That location is right at the border of Rowland District and the Walnut District, and the east of these for Castle is our district, and the other side is their district, and they are blocked from Hollywood. So they are planning to put a signal because the traffic there is increasing. So that will help the safety of the students, especially the Hollywood students and who are going to the school every day. And also I attend, on behalf of the board, I attend the IQ Academy virtual board meeting and listen to their meeting. I was there, and they have passed they had a meeting on September 4th, and they have two meetings this month, and the second meeting is on September 22nd, and they are going to pass the LCAP presentation. So very similar to our meeting schedule. And that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes. Over the years, this board has appreciated the support from our local taxpayers when they supported our school district by passing bond measures. Therefore, it pleases me greatly to be able to lower property taxes where we can by refinancing our bonds, and we continued with that tonight, and I think we'll be able to help quite a bit. One of my biggest worries right now is about our students who don't have everyday school socialization that is so important to their emotional and physical development, and that's true of all students. I too want to thank Santana for being the spotlight school for tonight's meeting. Thank you to Mr. Perez for your leadership, and also I want you to know we can see that Santana has come a long way. I continue to be appreciative of the teachers, the classified staff, and administrative team for helping make it easier for all under all these difficult circumstances. Thank you to everyone for pulling together as a team, because we are RUSD.
Ms. Ebenkamp. I too want to express my gratitude for the Rowland Unified District family of staff. This has been a very challenging past several months, and they really have pulled together to do what's best for the district, but more importantly, what's best for our students. And we see that every day. It's getting better and better. And especially with Mr. Perez, the changes that he's made at Santana is just wonderful. And to see those students give those videotapes was wonderful to see that. Tonight we also passed a resolution for National School Lunch Week. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the nutritional services staff for their extra efforts that they have had to assume this past couple of months to make sure that our students are nutritionally fed a sound breakfast and lunch. It is my dream that one day we'll have universal free breakfast and lunch program for all of our students. It has been proven in the past that a student that gets a well-balanced breakfast and lunch does better academically and behaviorally in the classroom. And thank you for the nutritional services staff. Tonight, we also approved refinancing the 2012 bond, which, as Mr. Flores mentioned, was $24 or $25 million that have been saved by refunding bonds in the past years. And this is all reflected in savings for our community on their property tax bill. We've also approved 3 important resolutions tonight: the Red Ribbon Week, the Hispanic Heritage, and the Bullying Prevention Month. A lot of times we go through the agenda and we approve these things rapidly and we go to the next item. But these 3 items are very important. It's the social unrest we have in the community right now, the increased use of drugs, and the bullying that's going on throughout the country that we see every night on TV. It is a bad example for our students, and it causes problems for our students and their families. And I think these resolutions, if you read them, actually reaches out to the community and to businesses to hope to gain their support. So it's not just a piece of paper that we're approving, but we're approving a concept, a process, and something that will have an effect on our future leaders of the world, which are our students. National Association College Admission Counseling, NACAC, was mentioned earlier for the college fair. I noticed that there's still 32 people online. So I just want to expand on this just a little bit. Every year we have a college fair. Last year we had it, I think it was at Rowland High School, where all the colleges came, set up tables, and it was a great experience for all the kids in the high school to see what it was like to go to college, or even for lower grades to come see what it was like, or at a college. And this year we're doing it virtually. And you say, well, how can that be done? Well, after reading the proposal, I think it's going to be actually even better than what we had last year, which is hard to believe. We're going to have access to over 600 colleges in this virtual fair. And the people that will be participating will be able to actually meet up, get information, talk to college people, chat with college counselors, and be able to be part of the experience virtually, which is really great. So rather than having 20 or 30 colleges, there'll be 600 colleges. And I also want to remind everybody that's online that elementary music classes begin August 31st. Last day to register is September 11th, which is tomorrow. So be sure to sign up since RUSD is Music for All. And over the past several months, an artist, Brian Kenyon, has been over at Giano Intermediate painting murals, and these murals depict PBIS expectations and values. So if you have a chance, make it over to Giano and see these murals and how it beautified the school and how to make the school a better place for our students. And with that, I have no other items. So before we adjourn the meeting, I want to adjourn the meeting tonight. Mr. Maldonado made reference to the passing of one of our employees, and it was, I'll try to pronounce this, Li Hao Palaluha, and she was an employee since 2008 at our nutritional service department, recently in in the central kitchen, and she has 3 children that attended Rowland Unified. And I'd like to adjourn the meeting tonight in her honor and wish her family our best and our prayers. Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular board meeting in honor of Mihao Palaloha?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. I'll do a roll call. Ms. Freedman?
Aye.
Mr. Chen?
Aye.
Ms. Ebenkamp?
Yes.
Ms. Pride?
Aye.
Ms. Aye for me. And the meeting will be adjourned at 8:08. Thank you and keep safe. And for those that are still online with us, I see they're like 34 or 35, 31. I want to thank them for participating at home and being part of our board meeting. And see you all on the 23rd of September at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.